Hi guys, welcome back to the JPM Performance channel. It is time for yet another shop tour. We are getting a ton of rain this week in Topeka. Fortunately, we did have a nice dry weekend at Heartland Park last weekend, but now it's been raining all week. So here we are, May 26th. This is kind of typical of this time of year in Topeka that we get a bunch of rain, and then in June it's gonna go straight to instant heat. So anyway, shop tour time. You will see today that what I have here on the bench looks like a whole lot of cables and parts and pieces. That is because the weather station and the stack on the dyno finally died. I was running the old Wimpep 7 stuff from 20 years ago, and so what we've got here is an all new setup. All of the new DynoJet stuff, new air fuel ratio, all the cabling. We have to completely switch the dyno over, and I think in the long run this is actually going to be really good and a nice upgrade, but there's a bit of work to be done. We'll see a little bit more of that here in a few minutes. So let's continue our shop tour. Ended up getting Joe Carr's e-production Miata engine apart yesterday, and he had said that it had locked up on him. And take a look at what I found. The fancy two-piece crankshaft. So this is a Crower custom billet crankshaft. These things are super expensive, and I can't say as I've ever seen one break in half like this, but fortunately he's got another one right here that's like brand new. So kind of an interesting blow up. You can see right along the edge, and this is where crankshafts crack, right in the radius. So it cracked right here and continued to work its way around, and if you see this hot spot right here, that's what gave up last. So that's where it finally went back and forth and finally broke right here. But that is quite the explosion. We do run these engines in the e-production cars pretty close to 9,000 RPMs, which I'm quite sure that Mother Nature never intended for us to do that to these Miata engines, but generally the billet cranks work really well, but not today. Okay, moving on. Just got Steve Johnson's car back in. He was having a little bit of a running problem on Sunday's race. I believe I found it in the bad coil pack, and some oil down in the tube where the spark plug sits. So got that fixed. Everything looks good. Changed transmission fluid. He's getting ready to go to the Ozarks, not this weekend, but next weekend. Did pick up Steven Simon's chassis. So it is completely baked and blasted. Something that I find really interesting about these cars, and the guy that did the blasting was telling me, you can see how the main chassis has stayed, pretty clean, but then all of these peripheral pieces that Mazda tack welded into the unibodies instantly flash rust, which is really interesting. But now you can see that it is completely bare, no undercoating, no seam sealer. So it is time to start seam welding the chassis, and also I have a floor drop to put in over here so we can install a proper seat for him. So that'll be the next step for this project, which is basically for next season, but these things take so much time that you kind of have to chip away at them as you get a minute. So Eric had a good weekend at Heartland Park, won both days, and actually set a lap record. So Rick Harris had the lap record at like a minute 45.0, and that has been a record for like 10 plus years. Nobody had ever gone faster than that. I did in 2007 in F production. It was like a low 44, but that was completely different asphalt, cantilever slicks, cool morning at the runoffs, bonsai lap. So Eric set the record at a 44.7, and considering that we've got all new asphalt at the track now that is not nearly as grippy as it used to be, that is a really, really fast lap. So congratulations to him on 2 wins and a lap record. So in the meantime, you can see over in the dyno area that I have recruited Travis here, who's going to help with all of the hardware install, and we're getting a new computer put in. In the meantime, you can see that the covers are off the pit for the dyno. Imagine my surprise. A few weeks ago, I had a really big oil leak from that protege that was here, and there was a ton of oil in the bottom of this dyno pit. So I've been soaking that up, getting that taken care of. But while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and do some maintenance. You know, lube up the roller, vacuum out the pit, make it really nice again, and we have all new electronics that'll be going into here, and obviously a whole new dyno tower that you guys saw over there with a new computer. So kind of getting it all updated to 2022 specs. So got to have the dyno working properly to get these race cars tuned up. So on to my experience at Heartland Park last weekend. I had kind of rested on my laurels a little bit because I didn't have what I'm going to consider to be a runoffs competitor entered. And so what I was doing, my plan was to run my tires from Hallett, because maybe I could give up, you know, a half a second of time without having to worry about it too much. Well, last Wednesday, Tim Schreier decided to enter, and it was too late for me to get brand new tires. So these are not excuses I'm giving you. I'm just kind of giving you a recap of how my weekend went. So a couple very interesting things. Ended up running the rear tires from Hallett onto the front of the car, and immediately going out for qualifying Saturday morning, the steering wheel was shaking like nothing I've ever felt before. Couldn't figure it out. Went ahead and did a qualifying lap, came in. Turns out that the tire had rotated on the wheel 180 degrees. And when that happens and you've already balanced your tires, all of a sudden you are way out of balance. They were like at 6 ounces out of balance. So doing some research, I think that the new tire paste that I got this spring is to blame. And apologies to Cliff Ira as well, because he had the exact same problem and I had just mounted his tires last week. So got some new paste coming that should solve that problem. Once we got everything kind of rebalanced, everything was good. Went out on Saturday, had a good race going, pushing a little too hard, had a little spin. Tim caught up to me, and we did have a little bit of a back and forth on Saturday. Really good, fun, clean racing. Really had a good time. It was one of those races that was very enjoyable. Went out Sunday morning for qualifying, actually put down a 43 flat, which is still a second off of Tom Thrash's lap record at Heartland Park. Go figure, I still haven't gotten his lap record. Anyway, went out for the race, got a good start. I'm not going to say I had Tim gapped. It was maybe a second or two at the most, but ended up having a little bit of trouble in some traffic, and he caught right up to me. And about 4 or 5 laps in, he had maybe a little bit of a run. You guys can make up your decision when you see the video, which is going to be down on the channel here shortly. And he jumped inside of me in turn 10. I did give him a line, but I think he broke a little bit too late, and he ended up spinning like this and hit the back of my car, and off we went into the Toolies, and my car had terminal left rear tow out. So the damage is comprised of a broken wheel, as you can see right here, but the bigger issue is that it completely bent my trailing arm and upright. So you might be able to see it if you look straight on here. The tire was towed out about 2 inches in the left rear. So this is a bit of a very custom modified control arm, meaning that it has a really nice heim joint set piece in the front and a really nice spring adjusting perch. And unfortunately, I cannot get that fixed in the next week. So no Ozarks for me. I know I've been talking about going to the Ozark track for weeks and weeks. I went to that NASA endurance weekend to get some track time, and guess what? Not gonna happen. So a couple things I want to talk about, and don't get me wrong, I'm not picking on Tim at all. The first thing I want to talk about is how I did the exact same move that he pulled on me. I think it was 2003 or 2004 at the June Sprints. Last lap, I was in my first gen RX-7. Ken Kennard was in his 240Z. Those of you that have been around long enough remember his yellow 240Z, which is Lance Lohman's car right now. And anyway, coming down into turn 5, I knew it was my last chance to probably pass him, and I went way too deep. Went inside of him, lost it, and I completely took us both out of the race. And after the race, I went to apologize to Ken, just as Tim came to apologize to me. And I wish that I would have remembered to say this to Tim, but I'll say it now. I'll never forget it. Ken Kennard said to me, "You were in way over your head." And there's no doubt that I was, and I'm sure that Tim learned a lesson on not just racing me, but maybe, we were only 4 or 5 laps in. We still had another 12 to 14 laps to go. We'd had a really good race the day before, and he just got in a little over his head. And so as we were spinning off in the grass, I saw him beating on his wheel. Bang, bang, bang. And as it turns out, when we got back in, he said that his quick release had broken. Now, I don't know if it was him banging on his wheel or if it was the wreck, but his steering lock broke. And actually, if it did actually break off like that, I would say that it could have been a lot worse for him if it would have broken off in a different place on the track. So those are kind of my 2 stories when it comes to that, as far as the wreck goes. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how kind of moved I was with Tim and his dad. So as we go out there on the racetrack, Tim and his dad race together. I think his dad works on the car and helps him in their, like, his crew, and it's a family thing. It's really cool. His dad was standing on the pit wall right as we came out of the last corner, the whole race. I saw him there every lap. And on the last lap of the race on Saturday, you would not believe it. He is the biggest fan of you, Tim. He was just cheering and clapping, and I saw it, and I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. So congratulations to you guys. It was actually really moving for me to see that, and sorry I didn't mention that to you after the race, but had a really good race. I'll get everything fixed, and the moral of the story today is, if you're running a BMW Z3 and you have custom rear control arms, you better have some spares if you want to make the next race. So I don't have spares. Shame on me. I will have spares before the runoff. So as it turns out, I'm going to end up using my Champions Provisional, because I'm not going to make my 3rd weekend next week at the Ozarks. So not generally something that I like to do, but I'm going to focus on getting the car ready for the runoffs this summer and really be prepared for September. So fortunately, all the body damage we got was just a little scuff right here that you can see on the bumper, and we hit actually wheel to wheel, so there's no body damage on the car. So super pumped about that. But that's kind of where we're at today, guys. Lots of stuff going on. As you can see in the aisle here, I've got engines. Those 2 crates are actually now empty, and I have 2 more over here that still need to be taken out of their crates. But we are in process on an NDT4 motor, and of course Joe Carr's motor, as well as the engine for the green NA that was in here. So 3 engines apart so far this week. We're going to keep chipping away. I've got an Elder STL engine there, and I've got Don Tucker's runoffs engine here, so, as well as Perry's sitting over here. Gotta try and keep everything straight. So I know I'm rambling a bit, guys, but I appreciate you watching. Make sure you check out the race from Heartland Park. No bashing of anybody, please. It was just an incident, and we can all learn from it, right? So check it out on the channel. Got front and rear view, of course, and we're working on that. Unfortunately, the audio for the Smarty Cam did not work. The whole thing that I got from Samson Communications did not work, so I need to call Sean, talk to him about that. Once we deleted that section and I got my new earbuds, for the first time in about 3 years, the radio did work really well, but we did not get the audio. So more technical difficulties, which is part of racing when you try and make it complicated. So again, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be here next week getting everybody else ready to go, because I won't be going, and so we'll do something else. If you have any questions or comments, as always, hit me up down below, and thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your week. Stay dry.